All right, welcome to Endless Balls. I'm Ben Wager with my guest hosts, Jose Swags and Jimmy Powers. And today we have a very special returning guest, Dan Lutz. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm welcome. I don't know how many return guests you have, but I'm happy to have the pleasure to be invited back. I guess I didn't mess up too bad on the first one.
No, we're proud of you, buddy. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm an attorney based out of New York. I handle some sports and entertainment cases. Some you might have heard of, but for we'll say that's my real job. But like my other real job is just being a sports law analyst. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Sports Law Lust, and I cover really anything at the intersection of sports and law. But yeah, and we also have separately a podcast called Conduct Detrimental, which in this very niche field of sports and law, I think is the number one sports law podcast. I feel like I'm comfortable saying that, probably because we
Wow.
have no competition though. So,
That
with a grain of salt.
that's awesome, Dan. We just probably brought in another 4 or 5 viewers off that. So we thank you for that. Hey, and I just want to tell you that we're bringing in another special guest. Nothing like you, Dan, but somebody who's strong on the ACC. Is that right, Jose?
Yeah, that's a friend of mine. He's from NC State. Let him in.
All right, I'm going to bring him in. This is Crazy Shane Carney coming on in here.
Everyone's got cool names in this thing.
Actually, I just gave him that name. I don't know what it is. I've never met the guy.
Great. No, that actually kind of fits. It's funny. Is he in here?
I just let him join in. Here he comes.
Hey, what's up, Shane?
He's not quite connecting to audio yet, and
So while he's getting connected, I wanted to start with the Big Ten. Okay, so Nebraska, obviously, I've been following your Twitter, your tweets, and kind of your stance on this. Nebraska wasn't able to. So the question today that I really want to ask is the NCAA becoming more like the WWF, or is this year and Corona just exposing it for what it's always been, especially the conferences? Are the conferences becoming increasingly corrupt because of the money in the college football playoff? And
Oh, God.
you being a Nebraska fan, and you've also mentioned Indiana, to what extent was it fair that Ohio, they changed the rules so that Ohio State could go in? So what's your take?
So Joe, you're speaking to my heart when you compare the Big Ten to the WWE, because that's another thing that I hold myself up as somewhat of a historian in. But yeah, so there's a lot of storylines. This is true story. But there's a lot of storylines in the Big Ten that do resemble some sort of a Vince McMahon screw job behind the scenes. Nothing really makes sense that's going on in Big Ten world. So I'll kind of just unpack it at a very high level for those that haven't been in the weeds like myself. Essentially, for the Big Ten to return, they said they were going to come up with these very strict rules. And the three that I had fun with this year, this 21-day rule. Basically, if you got COVID, you couldn't come back for 21 days. They said, in order to have a really safe season, we only want to play teams in conference because we know the standards that these guys are going to protect themselves from COVID. So you're only going to play in conference games. You can get 8 opponents over the course of 8 weeks. There are no reschedulings, which I'm unclear why this was a rule, but can't reschedule games. We want a really tight 8-week season. Okay, so everyone says fine, whatever. And they say, and one more thing, you need to have 6 games played in order to be eligible for the Big Ten conference title. And the reason that's important for college football playoff eligibility, there's basically a written rule that they said you have to be, if you are not a conference title winner, you have to basically be overqualified. So put it this way, like if you're a number 4 seed in the CFP and you haven't won your conference title, then you probably shouldn't make it. So then there would be a case for maybe a Texas A&M over a 5-0 Ohio State. So that's the gist. So anyway, Joe is kind of alluding to, I've been pretty outspoken about it. Second week of the season, whatever it was, Nebraska basically made a request to play out of conference, and the Big Ten had a vote, and they said, we are going to, who thinks Nebraska should play out of conference? And essentially the vote, at least per some reports, was 12-2. 12 voted against it, and obviously Nebraska voted for it, and Ohio State voted for it. And Ohio State said, essentially, we don't like the precedent that's going to be set by not allowing Nebraska to play. Even though Nebraska might not really matter for the college football playoff, it might matter for us because we're Ohio State and we have championship aspirations. So we'll fast forward. This is skipping over some good stuff, but essentially what happened. Ohio State had 5 games, and the Michigan Wolverines were supposed to be the 6th game on their schedule. So there were some indications that Michigan was going to cancel, and if they canceled, and if the Big Ten was going to hold fast to these rules, that would mean that Ohio State is ineligible for the conference title and therefore likely going to miss out on the millions from the college football playoff. And really where the story ends or / picks up and gets really interesting is the Big Ten. Even though they didn't make the exception for any other team in the conference, they basically plucked Indiana out of the Big Ten conference game at 6-1 eligible, and they threw in Ohio State, and they said, yeah, we know we made a 6-game rule. We know we told Nebraska that rules are really important, but when it comes to Ohio State, we're going to throw the rules in the garbage because they're not important, and we support Ohio State. So that's the Jose, Joe, whichever we want to call you today, Jesus. There is a wrestling storyline in there because very much so the Big Ten is giving preferential treatment to Ohio State. I don't think there's any other way to view it. I think they view Ohio State ahead of Nebraska, ahead of Indiana, who they plucked out of the game, ahead of Wisconsin, who separately didn't reach the 5-game plateau. They didn't make an exception for them. And I think the fourth point, Joe, which I'll credit myself, I made the top 10 meanest tweets following the Ohio State scandal. I guess number 4, that they clearly view money over rules. So I made a list of those 4 things, and I guess Ohio State fans were not happy with that.
So you mentioned money. I think it's like what, $6 million, but that's distributed equally throughout the conference, correct?
Correct.
So is it in Nebraska's best interest for Ohio State to get in? It's 500,000.
I think it's in their interest. I just think, put it this way. For a school, let's say everyone gets $600,000, right? The schools are rolling in money. I don't think they actually need it, but in a year with COVID, I think they'll take any money they can get. But let's say you're Indiana, right? So Nebraska, I get it. They're going to want Ohio State in. It's 600 and found money. But for Indiana, I think, you can make an argument. Would you rather be competing against Northwestern for a Big Ten conference title, or would you rather be sitting on the sidelines collecting $600,000? I don't know. That's a closer question. And I don't know if it sets the best precedent in the conference that, hey, if it's Ohio State, we're going to make an exception, which is 100% blatantly what they did. The logic that they claim, which, I'll just say it, people can kind of make their own judgment. They said if Ohio State had lost to Michigan on that last week of the season, that they would have made the game anyway. So even if somehow there was a forfeit or something, the result of the game that was canceled didn't matter. But team, that's a made up rule that they made up on the fly. This competitive analysis thing that they made up at the last minute, that's not real. So, it's very hypocritical and a really bad look on the Big Ten's level too. Hey, these are the rules. We're going to stick by them. We're not changing any rules over the course of the season. Oh, just kidding. If you're going to give us $6 million, we'll change whatever you want.
Dan, I got a question for you about this. Looking at this from outside the Big Ten perspective, just as, Mr. College football fan, not really having an allegiance to the Big Ten or anything, but recognizing the fact that Ohio State's in the top 4 of the college football. And if they're not in that game, chances are they're getting pushed back and they're not going to be in the top 4, right? And so they lose a representation in that top 4 because, Indiana's not getting in there, or Northwestern, forget it. So Texas A&M or one of these other guys moves up and Ohio loses that spot. Is that really in the best interest of everybody in the nation? Because, Ohio State's it's a big flagship team. We want to see the great teams playing. And, to lose Ohio State in that situation, can't the rest of the conference just take one for the team?
It's not like they have a choice. I think that's what's being jammed down their throat. I mean, just the hypocrisy and Joe. We'll go with Jose. We'll go with Jose for purpose of today. But Jose reached. I am not from Nebraska. I have no connection to Nebraska. But for the past 2 months, I've just been pointing out there's a hypocrisy in the Big Ten if they can. And Ben, to your question, I think it's probably in the best interest of the conference to have done this. I said a couple months ago, maybe weeks ago at this point, but they should have got rid of the 6-game rule for Wisconsin, and then they could have pretended that they just changed the rule. But to change the rule purely and explicitly because of Ohio State sends the wrong message. So, I think Nebraska in their own way pointed out, hey, this non-conference rule makes no sense. If Chattanooga has no positive COVID tests and their view of COVID protocols really closely models ours, Why can't we play them? So, Nebraska in that situation, had Ohio State found a non-conference opponent last week, there would be no issue about the 6-game rule because they could have found any random school, and just blown them out. But it was kind of the Big Ten digging their own grave. And instead of going back on their earlier pronunciation against Nebraska, they just invented a new rule on the fly. So do I think it's best for business? 100%. Do I think it shows that the conference is incredibly hypocritical? There is no avoiding those optics. They can tell me any which way that it was competitive analysis, but this is a pure money grab, and it doesn't paint the conference in the best light.
Do you think other conferences also have this problem?
With incompetency, yes, 100%.
Or hypocrisy,
Yeah, there you go. Certainly.
I mean, okay, so I'm an Arkansas fan, and I've been watching this unfold all year for ever since I've been an Arkansas fan. I've been watching this happen. I mean, it starts with Arkansas was beating Florida when they had Tim Tebow, and it was at Florida, and we were up by like 20 points in the fourth quarter. It's one of the last games of the season, and they called a phantom call on our defensive end to give Florida the ball. And ever since then, I've just known that the SEC is just so corrupt, and it's ridiculous. And now that we've gone to having plays reviewed by the booth, whether it be targeting or any controversial play that's challenged, it's now reviewed by the booth. It's you got these guys with the earpieces and these refs. I don't even blame the refs anymore. They're getting direct orders. Powers is laughing, Wager's laughing. I don't know why. They're getting direct orders from some anonymous booth official. There's no transparency. The SEC won't tell us who they are, and they're in Birmingham, Alabama, and they are affecting the outcome of all these games. I mean, look at Ole Miss.
So first of all, Joe, I was going to say you're missing your tinfoil hat, but I need a tinfoil hat here because I have my own conspiracy theories that I posted about, which I think are equally on point. Did you see my post about the Nebraska holding calls?
I think I did. Yeah.
This guy's Ben and Jimmy. Before you laugh at Joe, because I think that he does have a point here. Nebraska went basically 2 years without getting without the other team holding Nebraska for 2 years. I pointed it out, and the post picked up some steam. Through 4 games this year, again, no holding calls. Right? Nebraska is just the only the only team they keep screwing over, and then they get 3 in one game when the post starts going viral. Guys, that has never happened in the history of the Nebraska football program. 3 holding calls in one game. And it's not like we're asking for the moon. 3 holding calls. I watch NFL games and there's like 5 holding calls. So I think you're right, Joe. I will be.
No, I hear you on that. I remember your post.
I don't mean to kind of cut y'all off, but I'd actually my name's Shane. I'm a big ACC fan, and I follow the ACC pretty closely. But they actually, I noticed a lot of the same things with the ref discrepancies and the holding calls in the ACC. There's actually a gentleman that went to Florida State that did a study on holding calls from expansion. I want to say around 2005 through 2011, and found that there was huge discrepancies in holding calls called in ACC officiating between ACC teams. And it's, for the same reasons of, most likely there are certain programs that they want to prop up or assist at the expense of other programs.
It's a conspiracy.
That's true.
Nationwide conspiracy.
Shane, I think that's true. I read that came out in 2016. We were looking at that article in our research, and we actually brought that up. And there is a correlation to his evidence. Research shows that named programs and programs in the top 25. Now they're saying the referees aren't doing this intentionally, but they think it's a kind of a connection to the power of those programs and understanding that the refs are not coordinating this, but that it's just happening.
Whose side are you on here, Ben?
Well, I'm on nobody's side. I'm just throwing this out here.
It sounds like you wrote the article that is trying to derail this conspiracy theory, Ben. I know what you're up to.
My book is coming out. My book is coming. No.
So what Ben? Yeah, the article that Ben's referencing made it seem like it was just kind of a bias issue, whereas. I watched the game where
Swag is full Trump on this. Go ahead.
It was Auburn Ole Miss. It was Auburn Ole Miss. Okay. Ben was like, I think the booth officials are getting it right more than they're getting it wrong. And I'm like, you haven't been watching the SEC or any Auburn games this year. The play where Ole Miss kicks the ball off is at the end of the game and it touches the Auburn guy. So it's a fumble. And you can see it on review. I mean, it like breaks his finger. His finger goes in another direction if you watch the replay of it. And Ole Miss recovers the ball in the end zone. It would be a fumble touchdown, but they say the guy didn't touch it. And you have about 4 or 5 instances of these booth officials saving Auburn. And I sent Ben some links this morning on that. Just the Ole Miss game, Auburn, Arkansas, with the failed spike at the end of the game with Bo Nix. And then it was LSU, Arkansas. They reduced a fumble. But you know that I see the most that I see is this targeting stuff. And it's not applied consistently to teams. It unevenly favors powerhouse programs.
And it's a way to get, if there's a kid on defense that's playing exceptionally well, you get him out of that game.
It's always the best player. You never see some random guy on defense. The only time you see random guys on defense, and this is another thing that pisses me off and tells me that the college football is turning into the WWE, is teams flopping against the hurry up, no huddle. And you'll have these random second stringers come in because they have to leave for a couple plays. And they'll just fall down to stop the momentum. It happened to Mizzou, did it 3 times in one drive. You just have a player, they look to the sideline and then they just fall. But okay, going back to
that's been happening for years. That happens in pros. I mean, that's an accepted trick that they let that go to a certain level. Jimmy, what do you think?
I have a question for all of you, because Jose, you've been all over the conspiracy theories, and lately, with Auburn looking for a new coach, you've been all over this whole booster game. So here's a question for all of you. What makes you think that it's the conferences that are corrupt and support their favorites, as opposed to the multimillionaire donors? Jose, you trying to tell me that those donors can't get access to the officials?
That's one of the things, that's one of the reasons I want to know if the SEC was transparent with who these booth officials are. I don't think it's the guys on the field. When that Ole Miss play happened, for example, you could see the referee, once he got the orders on what to call, he mouthed, like, what the fuck? You could tell that he didn't agree with what he was about to have to go out and say to the entire stadium. And okay, I want to know, do these people have connections to certain programs? They're based in Birmingham, Alabama. They're next to some dental office. Move them out of Alabama.
Do you think it makes sense that all refs should just be under the NCAA? Do you think that would help this problem?
100%. I never want to see Mark Curls again. He's a hedge fund manager who referees SEC games. He's in Alabama. And anyway, Pac-12. Did the Pac-12 let Oregon State into the championship because Auburn was trying to hire Oregon's coach? So the Pac, they let Oregon in. That's a conspiracy. Now that's a little too much maybe, but there's a lot of Auburn fans who think that the Pac let Oregon in because if Oregon gets into the championship game, Auburn's not going to be able to hire Mario. So
wow, lots
of good conspiracy theories going out there. But no, so Shane, you kind of said, we were having a conversation and I said, is college football becoming more like the WWF? And you're just like, nah, it's just more on the nose this year, but it's always been like that.
Absolutely. I think, the things like this have been going on. I feel like conferences have been doing things to prop up teams that they feel like are in their best interest to be propped up. I know during the beginning of expansion to the ACC, I felt like the conference propped up Tobacco Road schools more so than at the expense of like a Florida State or a Virginia Tech or a Miami. Whereas, that sort of thing. I just think, now it's just we see these very specific examples. I think Ohio State going to the Big Ten championship is really one of the more on the nose examples, but across the board. But I think just now, I think you talk to any college football fan that doesn't support a blue blood program, they'll tell you that their conference has it out for them, and they'll tell you instances of their conference having it out for their team. And I think some of that might be some tinfoil hat sort of stuff, but there's a level of everybody thinks their conferences are supporting the same schools for a reason.
Yeah, and then the ACC, another example was they canceled Notre Dame. And the last game, but they wanted them to have an extra bye week before the championship game. So I think it was Notre Dame, Miami.
Yeah.
And you can't have Notre Dame risking a loss, I guess.
But it was Notre Dame.
It was what?
I can't remember who the opponent was. It was definitely Notre Dame.
Shane, we're losing you on your audio there. I don't know.
Oh shit.
Oh no, that was better. Now you
All
sound.
right, sorry about that.
We heard that.
It
We heard
It
that.
only
That was
works
loud.
when
loud.
Shane
I apologize,
curses.
y'all.
That's the only time his audio works.
I think it was Notre Dame.
I want to say it was I can't remember if it was Miami or Wake Forest, but it was. They didn't. Miami makes more sense because they don't want the team to get upset. It's in the ACC's best interest for Notre Dame to go to the ACC championship.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
they're
they
gonna-
want to bring them in long term too. Isn't there talk about that today?
They've been wanting to. We'll see what happens, but I mean that's that's like kind of a crown jewel of college football. It's one of them is Notre Dame, and ACC would obviously love to bring that in.
Yeah, I read that. That's a little bit of a loss, though. I think they're getting $15 million a year from was it NBC to be independent, so they
Yeah.
take a little financial hit going into
Yeah.
the ACC.
Yeah. They make a good bit of money from NBC because NBC has the rights to all their games. So, but I think it comes down to if they think overall being in the ACC benefits them in terms of getting into. I mean, it's just what they think is going to benefit them the most. And at the end of the day, I don't think there would be that much of a drop off. And if they find that it would be like work out, they might would do it.
So you think, Shane, you want them in?
No, I don't want. I'm an NC State Wolfpack fan, so we already suck. I don't want anything else. Anything. I want us to bring in, Sisters of the Poor and Blind. That's who I want us to bring in.
I mean, the ACC is already kind of like that. I mean, there's like it's very top.
It's top heavy. You got Clemson, and then you got everybody else.
Well, Shane, just so you know, I'm a Syracuse fan. So, I would say your football program's far above ours. So but if you're making the argument, because it's Clemson and everybody else. So if you bring Notre Dame in, does that at least give the conference some more clout so that they can put themselves head to head with the SEC and the Big Ten?
It would give it more clout, but I think, Florida State, a few earlier this decade won an Natty. And I think they got and they're still pulling in, top 15, top 10 classes if they figured out attrition and got a decent coach. I don't know if Cornrow Norvell's the answer for them, but I think if and if Miami, I like Manny Diaz. I think he's a good coach. I think if he can get it, things working right there, there's no reason Florida State and Miami shouldn't be top tier programs other than, their administration's out of whack. But yeah, bringing Notre Dame in would definitely make it kind of a two-headed dragon sort of thing.
Well, and it shifts them too, because for a long time, Notre Dame has kind of been looked at, even though they've got the annual USC game, the annual Pitt game, they've always played a lot of Big Ten teams too. So if they come to ACC full time, that kind of partnership, marriage, whatever you want to call it, since they're in the geographic region of the Big Ten, that's done. So it'll be interesting because I'm sure even there's longstanding history, the Purdue game, Michigan State. So that's something that people have to take into consideration too. So the money and those storied rivalries would go away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the worst part about conference expansion itself is a lot of those, storied games and those rivalries kind of get thrown by the wayside. It's a shame, look at Pitt, Syracuse, and Louisville, all those games they used to have with West Virginia. Those were great rivalries, and it's just conference expansion ate that up.
Dan, you got a take on the Notre Dame situation?
No, not particularly. I think, at least in the world that we live in, it's I don't know. You could see what happened to BYU this past year when they had kind of an open schedule. It kind of maybe helped them, maybe hurt them. I think we'd have a different conversation if Coastal Carolina, that game had gone a little bit differently. But, for Notre Dame's purposes, I don't know, in this year where it was pretty important to be as part of a conference, they seem to be a little bit better off. And obviously, guys, Notre Dame's in the middle of the national title conversation. So whatever they're doing something right.
Oh man, they're gonna get creamed. Are they gonna be they're gonna be the second seed, so they'll probably okay. So speaking of that, Shane, what's your prediction? Who gets in?
I think Clemson's going to beat them. Are you talking about the ACC title game or the?
Well, both. Both are gonna get in.
I mean, because I mean, for the ACC, when they played them in ACC play, Trevor Lawrence was out with COVID. I mean, you got your starting quarterback back, and then Clemson still with their true freshman quarterback took them to overtime. You know, you got your next level quarterback, you know, coming back. I really don't think. I mean, as good as Notre Dame's offense or defense is, I don't think they're going to stop them.
But you think both are going to get into the playoffs, right?
I don't think so.
Really? So you think if Notre Dame loses, you don't get in?
I as part of, like we were kind of talking about earlier, you know, ACC is kind of seen as a cream puff conference a little bit. I think they're going to say the strength of schedule of a one-loss Notre Dame, even if that one loss is to a full-strength Clemson, with a win, I think you have that human component of the committee. It's not the BCS running the numbers, and I can say the committee looking at Notre Dame and saying their win against Clemson has an asterisk by it, which in and of itself kind of puts I don't know, like kind of it's a dampener on their resume.
So
does that make sense? Or
yeah, who do you think gets in?
I mean, I think they're going to do everything they can to get Ohio State in. Bama's going to get in, and then I see them. What A&M's looking like the one-loss A&M.
That's crazy. A&M.
I would love to see Cincinnati get in. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I like Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati.
I would love to see that.
I think we can all agree on that, but we can also all agree it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I noticed that the gamblers are all double digits on Clemson. I think at this championship game, I think they've got the spreads in the double digits right now, isn't it?
I think it was somewhere around 10, right? 10.5 maybe.
Yeah. So all the gamblers are going with Clemson. Although I personally think, you know, looking at this from a strategy of coaches, if you beat a team, regardless if they didn't have their best player and you still beat them, you know, you have a confidence going back into that game. And I think Notre Dame, even with Lawrence, I think that they're going to be stronger than a lot of people think, and they could win it.
I would love to see Notre Dame win it. You know, Joe was making that point earlier about, you know, it being good for the conference to have, you know, your team because I mean, overall after this year, Notre Dame leaves the ACC, you know, as a full, for football purposes, as a full-time member. And he's making that point, you know, it's good overall for the conference to have their team in it and win it. But I mean, as a fan, at the end of the day, as much as I want my school to get, you know, $600,000, however many $1,000s, I'd rather see us win. And if I can't see us win, I just don't. It's whatever to me.
Does a 2-loss Clemson stay in the top 4?
I doubt it. No.
Oh, Dan? What do you think, buddy?
I doubt it. I think there would be riots in various college campuses if that occurred. But you know, Ben, listen, if we listen to Joe and the little microphones in the ref's ears, I mean, you can't rule out a WWE conspiracy here.
No, I mean, just tell us who the booth officials are. That's all I want. I want to know their backgrounds. It's so secretive. It's so messed up. And they ruin every call. All right. So, yeah, you know, college football is definitely turning in. It's being more exposed this year as it's protecting the blue bloods in each conference. And it's frustrating. And so I understand, like, if you're a Penn fan, you want the money, but it is frustrating to watch them change rules for certain teams consistently. And one of the things I don't get is they protected LSU and Auburn this year, and both of those teams suck. It's just like you would think that they would. I guess maybe it's just muscle memory, but there's my rant on that. Any other college football stuff? Shane, Mr. Lutz, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was a fun time.
Yeah, man. We'll have you
Thanks,
back.
thanks
ACC.
Shane for coming on. And Dan, you want to just give us those what's your podcast called again, and what your
Yeah,
handles?
the podcast is called Conduct Detrimental. We let's say we do some legal conspiracies, Joe. So maybe that's what we got Joe on Joe's radar. But yeah, we cover all things sports and law. We cover we just put out an episode this past week, the James Harden issue, how it's potentially breach of contract. We didn't get into it on this podcast, guys, but the Supreme Court is taking up basically college sports amateurism is going up to the Supreme Court, which is the first time in really 30 years that the Supreme Court has wanted to touch this issue. So you could see, I don't mean to keep saying it, Joe, but like all these different little, limitations on college athletes. It's all versions of antitrust law. So you could see that going away. So yeah, and we covered the Cleveland Indians trademark issue. They're obviously changing their name. So anything really at the intersection of sports and law, we try to make, we'll say, some legal talk for the bar scene, like your basement, Ben.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Dan. Thank you, Shane. And we look forward to talking to you guys again in the future. You guys have a good day. All right.
Absolute pleasure. Appreciate the invite, guys.
Yeah, you take care. Thank you.
Adios.
All right, guys. So
Let's go over the NFL, right? And then we'll end up with the an endless balls pick of the week.
Oh, the endless balls pick of the week. Those are exciting. So what right now as we speak, what are we looking at on the Thursday night game?
All right. I put down on +3 Chargers.
Oh, they were the underdogs.
We've got a tie ball game, 17-17 in the third quarter as we record this.
Is it going to hit the over?
Well, that would be 34. I don't know what was the over.
It's in the beginning of the third.
I think 52.
Ben told me to take the over. All right.
Hey man, that's only these guys they can sling it. So let's see what happens. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been able to catch any of this. So
it's your boy Justin Herbert.
Yeah, well, he makes me want to bet everything I have. I want to bet the house when Justin's
a little
playing.
bias there because
Ducks, baby, Ducks.
I'm getting the spreads up right now. I've just been definitely following. We'll talk about the Oregon Auburn situation here at the end of the pod, but I've definitely been following, Mario's career at Oregon. He had Herbert, I guess, his first year. All right, I got the spreads up. We got 2 games. Do we got 2 Friday games?
There's 2 Saturday games, I think.
2 Saturday games.
That's right. We start Saturday football this week.
Yes, I love it. Saturday football, or Saturday pro football, we should say, right?
That's going to be a good Saturday between conference championship games and NFL.
I know, right? It's we're packed up. We are packed up this week, and unfortunately, the end is near. The sadness. We're gonna lose college ball soon.
Hey, smile because it happened. All right, we got 2 Saturday games. I got 3 categories. I got points, money line parlay, and stay away. And I'll just read through.
Oh, by the way, let's just talk about last week. What a train wreck! What a train wreck! It's not every. I didn't get to watch this game, but man, the Miami last second, the 50-second field goal. That just, it just broke all of us because everything else.
Watched it.
Okay.
Tua runs down, has to spike the ball. They're standing around on the sideline. They decide, kick the field goal. We'll get the points and try for an onside. Meanwhile, I'm like, shit, now my kid's not getting Christmas presents because the money I won the week prior on the wager wagon, I said, he's golden. He'll win next week. So I'll spend this week on myself. Which I did.
So the kid's not getting anything.
It's between you and the Miami Dolphins. My kid's not getting shit for Christmas. Jose, I'm coming over and stealing some of your stuff.
Here's some context for our listeners. The Wager Wagon parlay has been riding strong for like 7 weeks. It was a streak. and I knew it was going to bust at some point. And I didn't watch the games on Sunday. I was too busy. I can only choose college football or NFL these days. But the first two games of our parlay we hit, and then it's the Miami game, and they cover in like the last minute, right? They kick a field goal when there was no real reason to. They don't have a shot, and I think it was it -6, and they ended up losing. What was the score?
Which game?
Miami, the one that
it was 26-30. Was it 36, 26-33?
they barely got in to cover.
Yeah, it was 33-26, and it was a -7. It was a -7.
So the Wagon parlay, though, I mean, if you look at the individual games in those parlays, out of the last 9 weeks, Wager's 98% or something like that. That's just a ridiculous stat. Like, I stopped betting on my own stuff. I just bet on stuff these days that Wager approves because I lose a lot of money when I bet on my own. I'm like, thinking I'm smart. That's how I lose money.
I never understood why people like paid handicappers, and now I get it. I mean, like, shit, why should I think and be wrong when I don't have to do anything except for follow what the man says?
Yeah. It's funny. I was reading a Sports Illustrated article from the 90s, and it was talking about, so Sports Illustrated did a little investigative journalism on these 900 numbers where people would call in and you would have to pay like $200, and these guys would give picks out and they would just completely bullshit it. But people would pay like a ton of money for these 900 number picks. Whereas right now our audience gets them for free from a guy who's legit like in the 90% on choosing NFL spreads. It's mind-boggling, Ben. When we started this podcast, I had no idea you were going to go on this type of a streak, or I probably wouldn't have started this podcast with you, because I started this podcast because I was competitive and wanted to prove to you that I could pick games better than you. Did not happen. All right, so let's go to this week's NFL slate. All right, Ben, 2 Saturday games. We got Packers at home against the Panthers. Packers are -8.
I'm going money line Packers.
We got Buffalo Bills at Denver.
That's points Bills, baby. Points Bills. Although that Denver defense, they're showing up, but I still think the Bills have too many weapons, and I like the Bills. They're coming in with a lot of confidence after that win against the Steelers, and I don't think the Broncos. I mean, the Bills defense is strong. The only thing I'm worried about is that Denver secondary could mix it up a little bit, and Josh could get some hiccups. But I still think -6, they're going to win that.
Sunday games. All right, putting them in points. We got Texans at the Colts. Colts -7.5.
I'm a little. The Texans just choked last week against the Bears. Just absolutely imploded, and wasn't expecting that at all. And but then again, the Colts, they're looking like they got it. They're firing on all cylinders right now. I like what I'm seeing with the Colts. So I think it's a Colts win, but for some reason I'm a little worried about that spread.
7.5. But yeah, the last couple of weeks we've mentioned on this pod both times that the Colts seem to be undervalued.
I know, but I just feel like the Texans are going to come back. You know what? They had a game a couple of weeks ago, and if it wasn't for like a bad field goal, the Texans were going to win that game against the Colts. So I think they play the Colts. They play the Colts well. So I'm just going to go money line on the Colts.
And for some reason, I don't know if you're seeing this, but on the website I use, they've taken off the Lions Titans, or it's locked, I guess. And
it's on Titans -11.
Titans -11.
On our friends at DraftKings.
Yeah, who's
our friends at DraftKings?
Yeah, we need to get DraftKings in here. Okay, who's the Titans? The Lions? I haven't been following. Who's their interim? Is it the OC?
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
They seem to like him. They play for him. But
yeah,
again,
they're playing for him. I think they're
theory,
playing for him.
They hated Patricia so much they'll play for anybody. It could be the ball boy that's the coach right now, and they're playing for him.
I mean, they have talent. Stafford's a good quarterback.
Yeah, but he's not 100% right now. He's fighting some stuff, I think. I think he's got a thumb thing, maybe. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I should have listened to you on Thanksgiving Day, and because you were talking about that damn thumb thing then, and he came out. You're right. He
Oh
still
yeah.
has the thing.
so I don't like the 11. So I'd just stay away from that game
Oh, stay away. All right.
because the Titans, man, they don't play well at home.
So I wonder why my Jets game is locked, but Jets at Rams, it doesn't show me the spread. What is
Jets at Rams, we're looking at, it's pretty big. It's crazy minus 17.5.
it?
So we're staying away from
That's
that.
gonna pull one
Minus
out.
17.5.
Hey, the Jets have been getting kind of closer, haven't they? What they do last week or the week before?
They played they
blown out last
Seattle last week. They did not go well.
The week
Oh, that's right.
before,
That was blowout. But the week
The-
before.
That's
okay.
when they should have won, except for Greg Williams blitzed
Yeah.
the entire house
Yeah.
on 4th and a million or whatever.
Their former defensive coordinator.
That was awesome. Wait, was that a tank job or was that just incompetence?
No, they
Oh.
said that he had an aggressive mindset, and his strategy was if we sack him, he can't throw a Hail Mary. It backfired. So they had zero coverage, like straight up man, no deep
Yeah.
safety or anything for the ball game. But Greg Williams was like,
It's
nah,
gotta be
we're gonna
fake.
sack him.
Yeah. And of course Adam heard it on the headsets, but he was too busy talking offense when there's no more offense on the field. There's not going to be another play, but he had to talk some offense. So he didn't have time to correct the call.
Hey, Ben, can we, I know you're like a prominent Upper West Side attorney. Can you work on getting Gase on the pod?
Oh, yeah. If we tell him that, we've got like a nitrate sponsor, he might come on or something.
That's not a bad idea.
If we could just tell him we're changing the name of the pod for a week. It's going to be called Smelling Salts Are Us. He'll
Okay.
be all over it.
Here's something I don't understand with smelling salts. I want to do a little bit more research, but I thought the NFL and like college and whatever, they frowned down upon them. But like I saw the video of the girl kicker at Vandy. She's going to the sideline and head coach. I've never seen a head coach just open a smelling salt for a player before. I've just
It was like a Scooby Snap. She got a little treat for the field goal.
like, what's going on? Is that legal? Like, what? Anyway,
I mean, it's a southern state. What's illegal? When it comes to college football,
I thought Vanderbilt was like a prestigious academic institution that was high standing. I guess not.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I actually lived on Vanderbilt. My dad did a postdoctorate there, and I lived there for a few years.
Vanderbilt's a good school.
Swag, no wonder this guy's hosting like really intellectual podcasts and shit. Like, oh, my dad did a postdoc at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Well, because my dad's a scientist, so that makes me really smart.
So, it's just like, Ben, you have another podcast that you analyze like films no one cares about from the 60s.
No, it's 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah, so films no one cares about from the 70s.
Hey, at least 4 people care about them.
What would Matthew McConaughey think of this pod with fine film analysis? Swag, what would McConaughey say?
Oh yeah, he was not a fan of that in his book. He went to film school at UT and
Yeah. Well, he'd probably be all right with it. So
all right, that was the worst. You should do an impression. He's taking impressions right now for his book. You send him on Instagram and he'll repost you. All right.
It seems like a scam to read his book, so I'm not doing it.
All right. Rams minus 17. Are we staying away or taking it?
No way, man. That's just chaotic.
And the money line's not even worth it.
Forget it.
Well, actually, maybe. I don't know. Do we put Rams on the money line?
I would take, I'd almost look at the Jets in that game with that. That might be that could be an underdog parlay.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the Jags and the Ravens.
Well, they're coming up.
Okay.
Next, I got on mine. It shows I'm going in order of like time. So we're looking at the 10 o'clock games. Bucks are -6 at Atlanta. Ooh.
And when he says 10 o'clock, he actually means 1 o'clock Eastern, folks, because he's in the Mountain Time.
Yeah.
But it's actually 11 o'clock here, Swag. What are you on tonight?
I'm on Bookmaker. Oh,
No, that's not what we're talking about there, Swag.
Mine chose 10. Yeah, it's a
What substance do you want?
it's an absence. It's an absence of smelling salts. That's what it is.
He's so high, he's in another time zone.
I gotta get some salts, man. All right. Bucks -6 at Atlanta.
I like that. I like the points with the Bucks. I think Atlanta is just garbage. Ryan just he can't even throw the damn ball. I mean, it's just nothing. I mean, he's not putting up any serious. At the end of the games, he's garbage time stuff. He's doing some things, but man, I have been unimpressed with him. And he's one of my fantasy football quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And so I might be taking this personally, but screw him. Bucks -6.
Yeah. How did Tom Brady look like last week? I didn't watch.
He was solid. He made some look. Everybody was trying to make this an Arenas thing or whatever. Bruce Arenas? What's his name?
Aryan Nation.
Aryan Nation. Is that what his name is?
Yeah, Bruce Aryan Nation. That's what
He kind of looks like you.
So yeah, all those fat white guys look alike, right, Joe? All right, so this guy, people look. Brady wants to sling it. He wants to throw deep. He still thinks he has it. He does. I mean, his arm strength obviously deteriorated over the years. He's putting some big rainbows up there, but he's got his receivers. They're good enough to pull him down still. So he's getting some long balls in there still. But I think their defense is just going to shut the Atlanta down. Atlanta's just not a good team. So
gotcha. Right.
I think -6 is easy.
Pats Dolphins at Miami. It's Miami -1.5.
Dolphins points.
Right. Are they
-1? I mean, Jesus, have you seen? I mean, I don't even think
quarterback. Is it Tua?
Oh my God, I feel bad. Cam he's just lost. I mean, he has no natural ability left. I think he got COVID cloud so bad that it's just never going to go away. He has his instincts in the pocket right now are so bad. He just looks horrible, just horrible.
Who's quarterback for Miami these days? Tua or Fitz?
Tua time.
And Tua, let me tell you, he's no showboater right now, but he can manage a game.
Yeah, he's a good game manager.
He'll manage it. I mean, he's no Fitz will throw it out and he'll try and take it. He'll try and win it, force him in there. But Tua is a really accurate, smart quarterback. And so I think even though it's his first couple of games, he can manage it enough to beat this crappy Pats team. I'll tell you that.
All right, we got Seahawks -6 at Washington traveling. I guess.
I got that. I got that as stay away. Washington looks really good right now.
Yeah, I think Fatah is due for a loss though, man. They've been on a streak.
Yeah, they might lose, but I don't know about those.
I don't like
they might make it close because they're just going to follow the Giants' strategy against the Hawks. I think they'll watch that game real close because this guy Chase, what's his name?
Chase Young is
my God, he's a monster. He's a monster. This guy's
reminds me of Javon Curse,
Oh,
but like bigger and more physical.
Oh my God, he's a game changer, and he's a rookie. You know, he's just he's like it's like there's a little Incredible Hulk that just goes blah, and then he just goes and just destroys everything in his way, man. I mean, he's
gonna be just like you when you get that Oculus and you're ready to fight swag.
Yeah. The Oculus is on its way, baby. I ordered it. So
I'm gonna get one sometime.
It's only you better get it because it takes like there's none left. And they're building mine, I think, because it doesn't come till January.
So we'll talk about Jake Paul and the Floyd Mayweather fight at the end. All right, so we'll circle back to the Oculus and boxing. So we're staying away from Seahawks. Bears +3 at Vikings.
I had the Bears dead and shipped out, but after that Texan win, I don't know what happened. Trubisky just woke up or something. I mean, that was a hell of a game.
So we're putting Bears in the points. +3.
No, I would have, I would have had the Vikings except for last week. Now I'm looking at this game. I'm staying away from this game now.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you. It really depends on, which way the wind's blowing on this game. So
No, the
So
Vikings need it, but they're not consistent enough that I would feel confident, even though they need it to keep their playoff hopes alive. I still don't have enough confidence. They're so inconsistent.
I might look at the over for this game, 46.5. That, with the way that Trubisky threw up the points last week, and Texans don't have much of a defense, and Vikings don't have much of a defense, and the Bears, they got a strong line, but they don't, they're not great at anything else. So this might be a good over bet.
yeah, that's 46. Jacksonville at Baltimore. Ravens are -13.
Yeah, this game, I'd go Ravens money line. This late in the season, I just don't trust double-digit money lines anymore. I mean, I don't. The spreads are in the double digits. There's just too much random with COVID and who knows what's going on. I just don't like those big money line. Those big spreads. So
Cleveland.
I like Ravens on the money line.
Yeah. Cleveland's at New York. New York's +6. Cleveland -6.
That's a really interesting that the Giants are +6 against Cleveland. Cleveland played well last week. that game, Baker was a change maker in that game. He was solid. And I think the Giants can shut down that parts of that offense, but I don't see that as like a +6. I don't see that as a +6. I would probably take Cleveland. I don't know, man. That's a tough Giants +6.
Take Browns -6. Put it down for now.
Yeah, I think that they got. I don't know if the +6 might not be enough.
Eagles at Cardinals. Another Eagles are +6. NFC East.
That's tough because Hurts played well. He looks good. It's almost like it's two very similar quarterbacks now. Playing against each other. And I thought the Cardinals. I thought Murray was dealing with some stuff and he wasn't as mobile. But I think he got over it and he looked good last week. And they took care of the Giants. They took care of business. So I think Murray's back to the shoulder problem or whatever he was. It's not there. And so, but with Hurts, the whole team is different. Under his, the vibes change. They're feeling it's the plague is gone kind of vibe. So it's hard to say with that game because I think they're pretty evenly matched. So I'm gonna go stay away.
Yeah, okay. So we got Chiefs at Saints. Chiefs are -3. This is actually going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I got Chiefs money line.
All right. So Chiefs. That's only -163. Okay. And what was I was texting somebody. What was the last one we said to stay away from? That was Eagles, Cardinals. All right. The last Sunday night game. Maybe it's not the last one.
Sunday night, they flexed. The Browns Giants are Sunday night now because they flexed that.
Okay. Yeah, so 49ers at Cowboys. Cowboys are +3. Are they still a dumpster fire? Why is the spread close?
Well, they looked really good against the Bengals, but I would say, yes, they're still a dumpster fire.
Yeah, the Niners haven't played that well either, but I'd stay away from this game. These teams are. I think the Niners are probably good enough to beat them. So if I were going to take this, I'd probably just take Niners money line. But Dallas at home, there's a little more. They actually let people in the stadium there, so it's.
That's right. They don't have COVID in Texas.
No, that's a myth. That whole COVID shit. So, so I would probably go. I would lean toward Niners money line, but I don't think I'd take this. If you feel it, but I think that at home for Dallas is an advantage. So,
All right, I'll put it in the money line category with a question mark next to it. Last game is Pittsburgh at Cincy. Pittsburgh's -13.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a big fan of these. I'd probably take the over.
So yeah. Over is
40.5.
Oh wow, yeah, that's okay.
Steelers need a bounce back game. Steelers might score 40.
I think between these two teams, I think the Steelers can get 30 against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati can get 10 or 12 garbage.
Swag, why don't you put 1,000 on that for us? Over.
Yeah, where's that Biden money, man? Throw
It just
some of
came
that
to
out.
my account.
You finally got that Biden money in, right?
Yeah. Feeling pretty good about it. I didn't think they were going to give it to me until the inauguration, because that's what they had like implied in my arguments with the bot who manages their chat room.
Didn't you threaten a lawsuit?
Well, it was bullshit. What they told me was like, we'll pay it out once it becomes official. And I'm like, electors got together today and they made it official. And they're like, well, we'll pay it out once the other candidate concedes. And I'm just like, that's not what you said. You're shifting the goalpost here a little bit on me.
You do understand you were negotiating with a Russian bot who probably doesn't understand our election procedures.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, it's probably worse than like an insurance person,
All right. All right. I wrote these down. Ben, on the points, we got 4. And we're going to do a Wagon parlay. That will be 3 of these teams. We got Bills -6, Bucks -6, Dolphins -1.5, Browns -6. Which one of those would you take out?
I take the Browns out. I like the Bills, the Bucks, and the Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah, the 90% chance is what we'll roll with.
But our official Wagon doesn't come out till Saturday.
All right, so new segment, endless balls, person or team or whatever of the week. It can either be somebody who did something really stupid, or someone who took some sort of risk and it worked, like, going for 2 to win instead of going into overtime and kicking the extra point. I'll start us off this week, this new segment. I don't even know if I told you guys about this or gave you guys time to prepare, but I am choosing Auburn for my endless balls of the week because they're so stupid and their fan base is in complete meltdown mode. They fired Gus Malzahn, paid him $22 million. Half of that's due this month, and then the other half will be due in monthly installments over the next year or so. $22 million. And they thought they were going to get Oregon's coach. And they went after him, and then he re-signed with Oregon, signed an extension, got a raise. I think he signed it, right? Has he put the pen to – yeah, well, anyway, I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's what they're saying. He's going to take it. I don't know if he officially signed it yet.
But they thought they had him locked down. I've read a lot of insiders say that, at least. And now their number one lead right now is promoting the defensive coordinator. So you fire your head coach, you pay $22 million, and all you do is just keep his assistants. That's
yeah, they're good planners. That Auburn group, they really planned this out well.
Oh, their fan base is pissed, and it's just so funny because like you have these big boosters who think they're brilliant, and Arkansas had the same thing happen with Gus Malzahn. We had him all but signed, and then he won the Alabama game. He was about to get fired from Auburn, and his agent, Jimmy Sexton, horrible guy, negotiated just ridiculous buyout terms. And we thought he was going to come sign with us. We fired our coach and our athletic director in order to get Gus Malzahn over to Arkansas. We thought he was coming. The ink was about to dry. He had the contract in front of him. It was all but signed. It was a done deal. And then it didn't happen. And so if you're Auburn, it's just how do you fire somebody, fall into that same trap? It's befitting for them. That's a huge buyout. And again, it just shows college boosters are idiots. They have no idea what they're doing. And in Auburn, you have a bunch of rich guys who are vying for power in the program. Same thing with all these SEC schools. But anyway, that was mine of the week. It's funny to watch their meltdown. to be on the other side of things for once, because usually it's Arkansas that does really stupid shit like that. Ben, Jamie, you guys got anyone?
I'll go. My endless balls of the week goes to the one and only Lamar Jackson. My man went in and took a deuce for like 20 minutes. Came out, led his team to victory, and then shut up all the naysayers on Twitter by pulling out the poop emoji and saying, y'all tripping. I was not dropping up during that. It was cramps. There is no way that he was in the locker room all that time with cramps. My man had to poop. That's endless balls right there.
There was one podcast where I had to do that. Remember, I was like, hey guys, I'll be right back.
Oh no, we ripped you on that, man. You don't listen to that again. Don't ever listen to that podcast again.
All right, Ben, who you got?
My endless balls, gentlemen. I'll just give you these two initials. ND. That's what I'm calling right now. ND to win Saturday.
Win outright, not cover the spread.
Win. I got ND to win.
Why?
Bye-bye, Clemson.
You sound eerily similar to our president when you say win, like he says China.
Win. China.
What's the spread, first of all? I haven't checked. Is it double digits?
It's 10.5. It was 10.5. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about the spread. It's a win.
I was listening to ESPNU radio this morning. There's a lot of the ESPN college football guys that are picking Notre Dame. I didn't realize that the backup quarterback still threw for 400 and some yards in that game. And their take is that Notre Dame will give that away. Like we'll let them have a bunch of yards. I don't know that I believe that, but there's Ben is not alone in thinking that Notre Dame has endless balls this week.
That's what I'm calling. ND, endless balls.
The ACC comes in. So watch for some.
EB.
Here's my prediction. There's going to be a booth official review that overturns a big play in the fourth quarter in favor of Clemson. Calling it right now. The ACC is going to get Clemson into the college football playoffs. They're not going to let Notre Dame be the only team.
No. See, I think it's the other way around. Jesus will overturn a call for Notre Dame because the ACC stands to benefit from Notre Dame winning the conference championship and making it to the college football playoff. Because if the ACC can lure Notre Dame long-term, forget about Clemson this year.
Yeah, Jose, listen to me. DFWJ. All right? DFWJ. Don't fuck with the Jesuits. All right? Don't even think about it. There's nobody closer to Jesus than the Jesuits. I mean, it's almost the same name.
Clemson's pretty close.
Clemson.
I mean, Dabo.
Those are born agains.
Right.
Born again.
Dabo, yeah, he's a God-fearing
There's
man.
no reset button in Catholicism.
Man, we've touched on a lot this week, from Bruce Aryan Nation to getting down with the JC and don't fuck with the Jesuits.
What's the Florida Bama is probably going to be like 17. I think it's like 17 points.
Bama by 1,000. That's my second endless balls. Bama by 1,000.
They got to come
Seriously,
back.
we should have endless balls, and I think we should put like $1,000 collectively on Alabama and the over for Monday Night Football.
Listen to you. Alabama and the over. Let's you know what? Listen, guys, it's always great. I think we should we're running a long episode here. So let me just say this. I think we had a great episode here. Those guys were sharp. They got what they needed down. That I'll tell you, Dan, he knows what he's doing. You know, he's the man. And then your buddy Crazy Shane, is that his name?
Yeah.
Crazy Shane had
Crazy Shane, you know, he's representing the South strong. And so I like what he was saying, man. I like what he's saying. All right. So listen, guys, good show.
We got to get your pick for Oregon, USC.
Oh, Oregon. Gonna go Oregon for the win. Oregon for the
All
win.
right.
I think USC, they're chumps. So
Okay, take us
Oregon for
out.
the win. All right, buddy. Good talking to you guys, Jimmy, Jose. Great show. And next week, we'll just have to deal with the repercussions of how right we were or possibly how wrong. All right. Take care, guys. Good show.